3 offensive line recruiting updates. Let's talk about it. Welcome into the Voice of College Football, Ohio State channel. So glad to have you here with me. I am JR. We are going to be talking about 3 offensive line recruiting updates that have gone on this week. Before we talk about that, I do want to remind you, you can check out the live show with Mark, Tony, and Steve every Wednesday. If not Wednesday, they will come live at some point during that week. Every now and then, there is stuff that happens that prevents them from being there. But if they do have to reschedule, just click that bell notification and you will be notified when that happens. And also check out the post-game shows with me and Mike as we go through the entire game, talk about everything that happens, and then engage with you in the chat as well. So if there's anything that goes on, we can talk about that. We had a long discussion about Notre Dame and Michigan and all that stuff that happened last weekend. So we definitely want to let you all kind of stir that conversation and bring it to where you all want it to be. So jump in that chat, let us know what you want to talk about, and we will certainly talk about those things. All right, let's get to the offensive line recruiting updates. So some stuff has been happening this week. Obviously, it's a bye week, but Ohio State is continuing to improve and get better. I guess it should call it an improvement week. That's what Ryan Day has been calling it. Doesn't want to fall behind and not playing this week, so that's excellent. But one thing they're trying to improve is their recruiting status, not just for the 2025 class, but also 2026 and 2027 as well. So the first update is one that greatly impacts the 2025 class, which is that it looks like Ohio State's attempts to flip Micah DeBose do not seem to be going very well. Earlier this week, Mark Givler and Kevin Noon did a Skull Session recruiting podcast over at Buckeye Huddle, and Mark Givler did not have very much optimism when talking about the recruitment status of Micah DeBose. Ohio State is still actively recruiting DeBose despite his commitment to Alabama. He was at one point committed to Georgia, decommitted, committed to Alabama. There was rumors about him being a silent commit to Ohio State, but if you know anything about recruiting, you know these silent commits don't really hold all that much weight. So they are focusing on him and not trying to lose out on him. However, and that a lot of that stemmed from losing out on David Sanders. However, it looks like Ohio State going in and trying to flip this recruitment has just solidified Alabama more because Alabama recognizes this is a key year for their recruiting and they cannot lose out on somebody as high status as Micah DeBose, with them losing out on some other players as well. Ohio State is also rumored to be going after Justin Hill right now. So, there could be some battles there with that. But Ohio State is putting in significant effort trying to flip Micah DeBose from Alabama, and Tavian St. Clair was the one that really let everybody know about that. Now, I was the first one to report that Micah DeBose that Ohio State was trying to flip Micah DeBose. Jeremy Birmingham came out a week later and talked about it. That's when more people found out about it. And then the big thing was after Tavian St. Clair's first game, he talked about trying to flip Micah DeBose. And so then that gave everybody the thought process of, well, if he's trying to flip him, Ohio State must be too. And so that's where everybody kind of figured out everything that's going on here. Ohio State is offering Micah DeBose a pretty substantial NIL package right now. David Sanders obviously would have gotten a fantastic NIL package. There were rumors that it would be higher than anything the current offensive line is making through NIL, which is not uncommon with some of these recruitments and some of these guys wanting to get paid as much as, some would argue they should or shouldn't. Doesn't really matter. If schools are willing to give it to them, then, doesn't really matter. That's how much they're worth, is how much somebody's willing to pay for them. So Ohio State, since losing out on David Sanders, they definitely have some money and some resources to throw around. They could throw all of that at Micah DeBose if they want to. I think that would be a mistake. Micah DeBose is not the same player that David Sanders Jr. is. Micah DeBose is still a fantastic player. Don't get me wrong. He would be a great addition to this class if Justin Fry could make that happen. However, he's not David Sanders Jr. He doesn't have the athleticism. He doesn't have the size and some of those things that you want to see. It sounds like I'm bashing the kid. I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to get you to understand that Ohio State's not going to be going after Micah DeBose with the same package in NIL that they were going after David Sanders with. Number one, they don't see him as the same player. And number two, Ohio State is smarter than to just pivot and say, well, let's just throw all this money at this other kid. But it's still a very good NIL package. It's still something that would be attractive for him to look at. From what it sounds like, it sounds like Alabama kind of got wind of that going on, and they increased their NIL package as well. So the biggest problem here is that if in order to get Micah DeBose, you need him to really be leaning on his Cleveland family ties. You need him to be, really prioritizing those and saying, "Hey, I have family from Cleveland, I have people from Ohio that I know," but he has very strong ties personally to Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia. I mean, some of those places for some other ties and programs like LSU and Alabama hold very strong. Uh, a very strong connection with him that some other schools like Ohio State just don't. So, I mean, Ohio State is definitely going to offer the competitive edge here, right? They're not getting David Sanders Jr., and there's going to be an opportunity for him to start his freshman year. Do I think Micah DeBose will start? No. Do I think that the opportunity would be attracted to him? Yeah, definitely would. If you believe in yourself enough, and it's not unheard of to see freshmen starting at top tier programs. We saw Caden Proctor start for Alabama his entire freshman year. We're seeing a tackle start at Notre Dame right now his entire freshman year. Now, you could argue those didn't go very well, but that's just kind of the nature of the position, right? But if you're going to pay these guys huge NIL packages that are probably higher, if not at the high end of what your current offensive line is making, then you want to actually see production from them. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think Alabama's kind of solidified this one back up from what I've heard. I think overall Ohio State is making a strong push, and I think Micah DeBose has something to consider here. But I'm very skeptic about their chances in successfully flipping him just because I think Alabama is really, really working hard on this one, trying to keep him and recognizing that Micah DeBose is a centerpiece of this class that they cannot afford to lose. Ohio State has already gained Neem offered from them. They're already working with Justin Hill right now, trying to get him to flip. So it does not look like a situation for me in my vantage point right now that Ohio State is going to win. Obviously, it's recruiting, anything can change, but the way things are looking right now, it doesn't look like things are going to change all that much. All right, second update is a few more offers that Justin Fry has put out there. One for 2025, one for 2026, and one for 2027. The 2025 offer goes to Damola Ajidahun. I might be pronouncing that right. We'll see. I'm going to call him DA for the rest of this episode. And then the additional offers after that are the class of 2026, Breck Koloje, and the 2027 offer was a 4-star. Both of these guys are 4 stars. Maxwell Hiller. So we're going to talk more about DA just because I feel like this is more prevalent for right now. However, to see Justin Fry putting offers out there for additional guys is also nice to see. Might want to see an Ohio State or a guy from Ohio being offered. However, hopefully we'll get there at some point this season. Season's long, and Justin Fry can still do that. But Ohio State, their offer to DA, I think this is a good offer. Even though he is currently committed to Georgia Tech, he committed back on August 3rd of this month. So it's not been that long he's been committed, but he is still taking visits to other schools. So even though he's committed, it does seem like he is willing to still explore other opportunities, whether that be Ohio State, whatever it might be. He is still in contention with Georgia here. That seems to be the other school that is really pushing hard for him. The commitment to Georgia Tech came rather quickly. Georgia, from what I've read, they didn't really see it coming. They thought that things were much better between them and DA, so they weren't really sure how that was going to work out and how that happened. But DA continued to talk to him and continued to give him interest. So even though the commitment happened, things didn't really seem to change between their communication. Now, the challenges for Ohio State is that, to my knowledge, this kid has no Ohio ties. This kid has nothing tying him to Ohio, and that would bring him up to Ohio State for any reason. But he has told interviewers that he is definitely interested in Ohio State, that the competitive edge of Ohio State, and all the things they have to offer around going there, education, everything about Ohio State is attractive. And so the Buckeyes are currently working on a potential official visit. It looks like that visit is probably going to be the Iowa game. We'll see more on that game here in a minute, but it looks like that will probably be the one they're shooting for. DA has taken official visits to Georgia, Ole Miss, and Georgia Tech. Those seem to be kind of the big schools. I think Clemson might be in there as well. Seems like he's consistently thought about them, but he has tons of offers, 30 offers from Division One schools, and that's just the ones listed. So there could possibly be more that they just don't know about. But we're talking South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky. I mean, a lot of SEC schools here that are going after him. And typically, regardless of the ranking, if you see a kid who has an offer from almost every single SEC school and they're in SEC country, generally that means this is a pretty good recruit and somebody that might be better than what their ranking indicates. Nowadays, I mean, I pay attention to the rankings, but so much more so of what you want to pay attention is who is offering the kids and who's still talking to the kids too, right? If Georgia and Alabama have offered a kid, but they're not talking with them, okay, those offers don't really mean much because we know the way Georgia and Alabama offers kids, which is we're going to offer you to make you feel like we're interested, but you might never hear from us again. So the fact that Georgia is still going after this kid, even though they already have almost a completely set offensive line class, tells me that they see something in this kid. And so I'm not really concerned about the ranking. It's one that I'm like, look, this is a good player. Now I do need to go and watch the film with you guys on him, but from just glancing at it a little bit, some of the notes I took down is he's athletic, he's versatile, he has ability to finish blocks, he's excelling in both pass protection and in the running game. It's not like he's either or. He is 6'6", 280, so has some room to grow, but I mean, good size there. It's definitely for high school tackle, and he's had an outstanding junior year, earning first team all region honors last year, and then he's probably going to gain some honors this year as well. Things are starting really, really well for him his senior year. This competition, I don't know. While Ohio State is pursuing him, it seems perplexing to me that Ohio State would be able to come in this late and get him. Now, who knows? Maybe this kid has always kind of had his eyes set on Ohio State and them coming in. Maybe Justin Fry will really prioritize him and really create a relationship there. I do think this is going to be a recruitment that goes to signing day. Just from what we have seen and what I've read about him, that seems like even if he flips his commitment to Georgia tomorrow, he's still going to be investigating other schools and looking at other schools. So obviously you feel good if you have the commitment in Georgia Tech, but this is a kid that he's most likely not going to stop going other places, visiting other schools. So if Ohio State gets that visit during the Iowa game or possibly a game after, say that doesn't work out and he comes another time, I feel better about it, but I'm not going to feel good about this recruitment until signing day. And unfortunately, that's just the world we live in. But I think Justin Fry realizes that. I think Ryan Day realizes that. And for me, it's actually kind of a good thing for Ohio State. Not for me. For Ohio State, it's actually kind of a good thing just because you are getting into this recruitment so late. I mean, the kid's in his senior year playing, and you just now offered him. So getting into this recruitment a little late, it's better that he's going to let it go on for a little bit. However, it never feels good to get into a recruitment late. Would love for Justin Fry to start offering these guys sooner, but I'm going to hold back my, you know, big critiques at Justin Fry for a little bit. I'm going to let him see what he does during the recruiting cycle. You know, recruiting's not over yet, and see what he does with 2026 guys as well. Speaking of 2026 guys, our third guy to talk about is Will Conroy. So if you know Will Conroy, he was the four-star offensive lineman out of Cleveland, Ohio State St. Ignatius High School, or St. Ignatius High School. And Conroy had initially expressed strong interest in Ohio State, was really, really interested there, but it looks like communication kind of fell off. Rumor is that Ryan Day offered him because Justin Fry didn't want to, and that communication there was never really all that great. And so then Will Conroy, what was it, a month or two ago, put out his top five, which is a little strange for somebody in the middle of their, without even starting their junior year yet, to put out a top five. But you know what? Teach their own. Kid probably wants to commit early. We'll see how that goes. But Ohio State was not in that top five. Additionally, Oregon was not in that top five. And Steve Wiltfong had done like a recruiting prediction thing. It's not a crystal ball over at On3. I don't even know what it is. But he did a like recruiting prediction thing to... Sorry, my phone's going crazy. He did a recruiting prediction thing to Oregon, and Oregon didn't even end up being in that top five. So Ohio State's not in the top five. Oregon's not in the top five. You look at it, and you're kind of like, how solid is his top five? Because he's talking about development and, doing a really good job with getting the guys to the NFL, which like that makes sense with Michigan. They've had a really good time lately, but like Arizona State, Florida, they haven't put a ton of guys into the league lately. At least not that I'm recalling off the top of my head. Miami, you can see it with Mario Cristobal. Oklahoma has a good history of putting guys in the league, but overall seemed a little perplexing to me. However, it looks like Ohio State is getting back into this because it's been reported that Ohio State remains in the picture and Conroy is planning to visit the Ohio State Iowa game here in October. So again, this could be a game with a lot of good offensive line recruits there. DA, Will Conroy coming up for this one could be a very good, well, I guess Conroy would be coming down from Cleveland. Could be a really big day for the offensive line recruiting for Ohio State, but it looks like the number one battle here, if Ohio State does get themselves back up, the number one battle here could be with the team up north, Michigan, because Conroy has visited them. What was it, last weekend? He went to go visit them during the Texas game. Now, not a great game to visit him for, but he still had a glowing review of the visit, had a really good connection with offensive line coach Grant Newsome. They remain a top contender. I mean, he was talking about the fans and the atmosphere, and everything was just very impressive to him. Now, some of these interviews, it's kind of hard to tell because nobody's going to go into an interview after. Well, I shouldn't say nobody's going to post an interview afterwards where it's like, yeah, I went, but it sucked. Like none of these insiders are going to post that. I mean, some might, but it's just it doesn't happen very often. So Will Conroy coming in and saying really nice things about Michigan. I don't know if you would make them like his number one right now, but they're in his top five. And if he's talking about development and putting guys in the league, you're definitely going to look at Michigan for that because they've done that the past 2 years. Now, you and I know that a lot of that's been because of Connor Stallions, but we'll see if other people start catching on to that too. I think once the NOA and the punishments come out, that'll be pretty prevalent and pretty well known. But we'll just have to wait for that to happen. But I think overall, this recruitment is far from over. He came out with a top five. That was really, really early for a top five. I don't think that top five is set and solidified. I think Ohio State can pretty easily get themselves back into this conversation. Will Conroy is an Ohio State fan. I mean, grew up a lifelong Ohio State fan. He had a little bit of a rocky connection with Justin Fry there at the beginning with Ryan Day offering him because Justin Fry wouldn't. Again, that's the rumor. I'm not, trying to say that's a fact. And so Ryan Day kind of had the communication there, but it sounds like communication's really picked up over the last few months or last month. So Conroy's hearing a lot more from Justin Fry. Ohio State has a chance to regain momentum in this recruitment, particularly since Conroy has delayed his commitment decision to next offseason. He really wanted to commit this offseason, but it looks like the next one is when he is going to make that commitment. So if he's delaying the commitment, could be changing up the top five, could be having questions about that. We'll see. But the big news here is that he's coming for the Iowa-Ohio State game, and that is huge for Ohio State and can definitely get them back in the door with him. So there are your three updates for Ohio State offensive line recruiting that happened this week. Let me know what you think. If you think they have a better chance at Micah DeBose than I do, let me know. If you think you're really excited about this 2025, how do you say his name again? I need to read it. Damola Ajidahun. If you're really excited about him, let me know. Oh, here's his tweet. If you want to go look at his Twitter, I always like to make sure I put up these tweets of these kids saying their offers, so that way you guys can go follow them. Show them some love. And Will Conroy. Let me know what you guys think about these things. Would really appreciate it in the comments section. I do my best to try and respond to you guys in the comments. Can try to get to every single one. Don't always get to every single one, so I apologize. But check me out over on the OHIO podcast Sunday nights at 8 o'clock. And then check me out over for my Big Ten content over at the Big Ten Huddle. You can catch us every Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights at 9 o'clock. We'll see you over there. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I do appreciate it. Have a good one.